Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and we are going to die cut. We're die cutting, and we are going to layer these die cuts as well and add a little bit of ink and interest to them if we want. Today I'm going to be using the Honeybee, let's see, what is this? The Lovely Layers Wood Vase, which is absolutely adorable. This here is called the Lovely Layers Autumn Bouquet, and you get 5 different images. Now, 2 of them are not layered, okay? The stack of leaves and the wheat, you're not layering those, but they're in the set. So you have a cotton stem, a gypsophilia, and a safflower. I have no idea if I pronounced those correctly. We will also be using the Lovely Layers Dianthus. No idea if I pronounced that correctly either, but I sounded good saying them. Sound like I knew what I was talking about, right? Just saying. Anyway, now I have all of my pieces cut for the Autumn Bouquet. Now, the ones that are in the top left on that end, that's the Dianthus. We're going to do something a little different with that one. All right. I'm just going to add some slight colors to the cotton, to the safflower, and the gypsophilia. Yeah, I had to look at that again. I'm just going to keep that upside down so I can keep looking at those. Just a hint of color. I'm using my fine detailed blending brushes and just adding a bit of a grayish brown to the bottom of those, and then we're going to adhere them. Now, these were fun because instead of putting the small bits that I just inked on top, we actually put them below the stem. So I thought that was just interesting. Usually it's the reverse. You know, usually we're putting those pieces on top. Nope, we're going to put them below. Very easy to layer, very much so, and they just go right in place. I love the look of these cotton. You know, it's funny, it made me smile every time I saw the cotton because that's what I use in my photos. When I do my photos, and I don't know if I'll ever, I know we should change what our photo layouts look like and everything else as we're taking the photos of our cards and the projects we finish, but I just love the cotton. So I don't know. I'm a little different. So I'm just, you know, little different. These here are the safflowers or safflowers. So what I did, I looked this flower up. I looked up the gypsophilia to just look at colors. You know, are these ivory? Are they orange? Are they, you know, do they come in many different colors? And I found for this one, they were mainly one color, but I did find this yellow and pink. And I'm like, oh, I like that. So that's what I did. I die cut it in yellow, and I added a little bit of pink underneath it, because that's how that flower was set. Now, I did cut 2 of each of these flowers that were layering. I cut 6 of the wheat, and I cut 4 of just the leaves, and then I just cut 1 of the Dianthus, because the Dianthus is kind of going to be the centerpiece in the vase. For the gypsophilia, it did have a purple, but it was mainly white or cream when it came to this. But I saw this purple one, and I'm like, okay, well, why can't we have, you know, cream, light purple, dark purple, and then we can add some purple inks to the cream and the light purple to have this blend in. So again, we can always choose what the colors are that we want. Have fun with that. I love realistic. Absolutely. But it's not my focus when I create. I don't get tied down with light source. Where's the light coming in at? Where's that highlight mark going to be? I just put a highlight mark in. And again, I am not... I love watching realistic colorists do their thing with light source and how they look at that. It's just not something that I can grasp. I mean, I understand it. I just forget to do it. So that's the whole concept of grasp for me. So I don't worry about it anymore. That doesn't mean I don't want you to learn about it and you to like that. I'm always going to say you don't have to focus on it. Don't stress. There's so many techniques out there and so many different ways to put our cards together and our die cut layers and our stamp layers together. I want you to enjoy the process more than anything else. And if there's a happy accident or something that you don't like, keep going. There's always a way to cover it. I promise you, there's always a way to cover it. But it's not something where you have to scrap the whole thing. I get it. It's paper. It's got two sides. But we can still work with it. So I hope that makes sense. I never want to come across and say, oh, you must follow me. No. I'm just telling you, let it go. Let it go and have fun with it. All right, now that we've got all of our autumn bouquet set up across the top, I'm now just downloading ink, my vintage photo distress ink, down onto the top layer of the vase. It's got a beautiful wood grain to it. There is a cut at the top so that you can poke the flowers in. And we're just going to get this together. I'm not, again, going to glue it all the way to the top, but I am going to go back in and make sure that the sides are attached so that I don't tear it in any way as I'm putting these flowers into the vase. You'll also see me when I put these flowers there, I stop trying to lift that piece up and I just cut the flowers right there because I'm afraid I'm going to tear it. And I didn't want to tear it. So here, I've die cut for the Dianthus all of my flower petals in white cardstock. I'm using the inks, my Simon Says Positively inks. Now, these inks come or can be used, there's a set of 3 in each of the color families. So, with using those 3 that I have, I'm using for the darkest color just the smallest. So I'm going to go from darkest to lightest. So from right to left. And again, I'm using the color guide to help me through this. For the middle color, I'm going to use it for the next 2 rows. So for this one, I'm going to go a little heavy-handed with the color. And I just keep spinning it so I can keep adding more and more color to it. Now you have to remember these inks, they will dry back. And the beauty of these inks is they will smooth over. That's the beautiful part. For this next layer, I'm not going as much ink. And you can see the difference in the amount of ink that I'm putting down. For the lightest color in the family, again, I'm going to use that for the next 2 layers of each of the flowers. There's 3 different flowers. So this one's going to be a little bit heavier than the last row of flower petals that we're going to do. The cardstock that I'm using is Nina 80 pound for this white. And now for the last, it's just going to be an extremely light layer. So you can see the different levels of ink. 2 of these rows, I'm using 1 ink pad. Now, I could even make this one darker and go into the 3rd row if I wanted to. So always keep that in mind when you look at your inks. You can also mix and match. If you have 2 shades of red and you're looking for that darkest, use a dark brown if you've got a brown. You know, put the red down and then put the brown on top. You can mix your colors when it comes to your ink when you're doing something like this. So don't be afraid to layer your colors up and have fun with it. Here I'm just adding all of the layers. I'm following the coloring guide or the layering guide that came with the die set. And I'm just putting these layers together. And you can see each of the petals when it comes to all of these colors. I love the fact that when it comes to their lovely layers, you get the solid piece first and then you build off of that one. And you know where these pieces are going to go because 1, you have the guide, and 2, there's always a section that lines up when it comes to each of these petals. And it just builds from there. So we're just going to continue to put those layers down, and then we're going to put our Dianthus together. And I thought this was really interesting how, because you have this solid, here's that solid piece. And now we're going to add our leaves on top of that. And the guide tells you which leaves to put where, which is great. Or which leaves you're also layering. Now, I chose not to add any color to these leaves. I did not want to do that. I just wanted to keep these the colors that they were because we're going to have a lot of layers coming in over this. So there was really no need to add a lot of blending to this image. Now that we have our leaves on, we are going to add our flowers. And our flowers just sit right in the center. They just fit perfectly in there. We'll get the next 2 on. And we are now ready to put our card together. So I have a piece of brown cardstock that's cut to 4.5 by 6.5, and then another ivory piece that's cut to 4.25 by 6.25. And then I have a small panel of a teal that I put just a little bit of vintage photo around. And I used the Honeybee Deckled Edge rectangle die for that. And before I put the vase down, I'm going to take a couple of these just plain leaves, and I die cut those in a dark olive green and a grayish brown. That's what I'm going to call it, a grayish brown. So I'm going to set 2 off to the left, and I'm going to set 1 off to the right. And then now our vase is going to come up on top of that. Now we're just going to place all of our pieces in. I'm going to use double-sided foam squares for the back of the flowers. And that is just going to sit right at the top of that opening anyway. I do want that to extend just a little bit. And now we're just going to put in. And again, you can see these are just finely fine cut dies, which I love. So you'll see me chopping off the bottoms or tearing off the bottoms or cutting them off just so that I don't have to play around with trying to get them in there. So now we're going to set in our gypsophilia off to the side there. And I don't use all of these, so that just means I'll save them for something else. I'm going to separate the safflower. So one's going to be up higher, and then the other one's going to be down lower. And again, I'm just intertwining the leaves, letting them go where they want to go, where they want to fall. So it's going to look like a true bouquet, but making sure the pops of color are evenly dispersed. I'm going to pop that flower up as well with a double-sided foam square. I do love the cotton, so I had to get both of them in there. Not worried that the stem is not going all the way down. It's being hidden in back of one of those flowers. Same thing with that wheat. We're intertwining it behind these, using my tweezers to pull that through and getting that set. And once it's trapped behind the flowers, like that second wheat that I was putting in, I am not going to worry about gluing that top. It's not going to go anywhere. So only worried about what areas I'm seeing to make sure that they are glued down. I was thinking about adding a few more or both of these, but I just wanted to add one more. Again, it's almost, I'm creating that triangle. There was 3 of the Dianthus. There's now 3 showing of the gypsophilia. There's 3 now showing of the safflower. So I am a creature of 3s. I love the rule of thirds. So that's where I was going with that. Coming in with my large scissors to trim off the edges. I like the fact that it's going off the edge of those frames that I've created. And I'm just going to create one on the back. I love these botanicals. I think whenever these botanicals just remind me of note cards. You know, cards that, you know, your grandmother or your mom would have in a box on the desk and ready to grab. And this is what this set just reminded me of. So just added a little bit to the back, just as a decorative piece, so that when someone would turn it, they would see that special. Not going to add a sentiment to the front. We don't need to always add that sentiment. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, the products that I used will be listed down below. But again, I encourage you, use your stash. Look at the techniques that are being shown to you. And just enjoy the process. But as always, links down below if you did want to check them out and see the rest of this Heartful Harvest collection by Honeybee. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below as well, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Please, I'd love for you to subscribe. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. That's what pushes our videos out for others to be inspired. And hit the bell if you want to be notified when the next video is ready for you, or next series, which I love to do lately. Enjoy the art you create. Have fun with the process. Always try something new. Don't say, no, I can't do that. Give it a try first. But again, enjoy the process. But most of all, remember what is most important. Always be creative, guys. And I will talk to you in the next one. Till then.